Nā koutou katoa, nau mai haere mai ki tēnei hui. Welcome to this Infrastructure and Environment Committee meeting on Wednesday, the 2nd of April 2025. I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning that's attending via the live stream, and just a reminder that as we're live streamed, to please turn off your cell phones. I'd like to welcome the media here. Laura's from the Daily Post is here. We'll probably aim to take a break around 11 a.m. this morning. And to start off today's proceedings, I'd like to welcome Deputy Mayor Kai Fong to start us with a karakia, please.
Morena koutou, kia noi tātou. Tūtawa mai I runga, tūtawa mai I raro, tūtawa mai roto, tūtawa mai waho. Kia taua ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, taiki.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Moving on to item number 2, the apologies. I have an apology for lateness for Mayor Tapsell. She's in a delegation at the moment, as is Councillor Waru. We should have Councillor Brown online very shortly, as well as Councillor Wang. But apart from that, are there any other apologies? Can I just ask from everyone a second that the apology for lateness for Mayor Tapsell be accepted? That's Councillor O'Brien and Deputy Mayor Kai Fong. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. Now I'd like to call for any declarations of interest, please. Are there any this morning? There appear to be none. We'll move on now to item number 4, which is any urgent items. I don't have any such items today, and the CE hasn't received any. Are there any minor matters, councillors? Councillor O'Brien and then Councillor Lee.
Thank you and good morning, Morena, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, last week I requested some information which was kindly provided by Mr Kiek regarding the cost of Local Government New Zealand membership, and the figures that came back to me for the 2024-25 year was $74,217 exclusive of GST, $85,350 including GST. Membership runs from the 1st of April to the 31st of March this year. Now, because of the closeness of the dates, I had thought about running it as an urgent item seeking a decision today. However, given some of the feedback from some of my colleagues, I'd be more than happy to put this aside until the full council meeting at the end of this month if council officers wanted to propose a report on what the membership brings. Otherwise, I'd be moving a motion that we subsequently do not pay for membership for the forthcoming year. I'm happy if councillors do want to have a decision today. Otherwise, as I say, I would be more than happy for us to put it to the full council meeting at that particular time. I would ask if it is put off that we have a direction noted that we are not to join or pay the membership fee until that meeting. Thank you,
Councillor. I take on board your desire to talk about this issue. It's probably not the purview of this particular committee. Mm-hmm. And also, as a minor matter, we can't really make a decision or a recommendation today.
Hence why I chose not to bring it up as an urgent item, but I would be quite happy to put it to the full council meeting at the end of this month, so long as the direction's given for us not to move forward with paying that membership.
Again, we can't probably give direction today either, but I will just perhaps ask the CE to make a few comments around that for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. So happy to, if councillors wish for me to consider this matter and bring forward a paper. However, it's not the practice of this council to hold off on invoices that we've committed to as previous decisions made, so I wouldn't be able to give an undertaking that should the invoice arrive that we wouldn't pay it, but I'm happy to bring forward a decision at the next council meeting, which would be the appropriate delegation.
Otherwise, if it requires a decision to pause that action, I'd be more than happy to propose a motion today for next week's CNDD meeting, but I'd prefer that I think it's to stick with respect for standing orders. The full council meeting is probably the appropriate, and the only reason I'm bringing it today was, again, because I know with the membership dates, that invoice may be considered and paid. But I think it's worthy of us having a debate about that sort of money.
Okay. I take that on board, actually, Councillor. Are you happy to raise this offline with the CE and have a further discussion about this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way forward from my perspective as this committee anyway, if you're comfortable to do that.
Certainly, yes.
Thank you for raising it.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As recorded in the minutes that we're about to confirm, last month I raised the question of the publication of our water quality test results on our website, and I'm pleased to report in the subsequent correspondence with our Chief Executive and Stavros that they agreed to do that. I was just following up to see if that had been done as yet.
So you're just asking whether the results have been published on the website?
Yes.
Yeah, we can follow up on that. I know that we've all been provided with the results from the 2020 testing.
Yes.
And also, I think I believe they're testing at the moment for the 2025. I'll just pass over to Stavros to give us some feedback on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Those comprehensive tests for over 600 types of impurities of water are happening every 5 years, in addition to our regular monitoring for pathogens and protozoa and the activation of filtration systems. We are now collecting the same data for this period of the 5 years, and we'll publish them before then, or as soon as we finish it over the next few weeks.
So, obviously we're putting a new substance into the water now. Does this current testing, does it apply from before the fluoride has been put in or after?
We will be testing for fluoride. As you notice in the tests we have provided for you, fluoride is a component of that testing.
Yeah, there's potentially other contaminants in the fluoride, so...
There's always 660 contaminants.
Yeah, exactly.
And we test against all of them for maximum safe values.
Right, so before, after?
Councillor, maybe this is not a minor matter really. Perhaps it is something that you need to take offline and ask some more questions to Stavros. Everybody's had the results of that testing, which did show, the levels of fluoride plus many other elements. If you want to get more detail about that, perhaps it'd be better to take the discussion offline, if that's okay.
Well, obviously the issue is whether or not the testing that's currently being done applies before the fluoride is added or afterwards, because that being a new substance is going to affect potentially all the other test results. So it seems fairly good to get through.
Again, very briefly, we are required by the drinking water standards, once we introduce a fluoride component in that system, to make sure that the fluoride's presence in the drinking water standards do not exceed the recommended levels. And obviously, as we do this testing, we'll include it into our normal testing process.
My question concerns the timing of the testing.
Councillor, there's been testing in 2020.
Yes.
And there's testing being done as we speak.
Right.
There will be daily testing or very regular testing for the key components, which it is the level of pathogens, the level of protozoa, the level of bacteria, including fluoride and chlorine, residual chlorine into the water, and that will be done on a much more frequent basis on the 5-year testing for all other impurities. So that as soon as fluoride is introduced, regular testing will be undertaken to ensure that the levels of those materials into the water are within the safe zones, and we'll publish them as we go through.
Thank you. Thank you. We might just move on now, if that's okay, Councillor.
Another item.
Thank you. I'll just go to Councillor Patterson first for a minor matter and then come back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it was recently Councillor O'Brien raised a concern that reports are turning up in our inboxes the day of the presentation. Here's another one. Why are we getting this today?
Which regards to?
The Works Team Integration Update. It's just arrived.
Usually, I think we're talking about, I think Councillor O'Brien was talking about the agenda itself, but if it's regards to PowerPoint presentations, sometimes they do come a little bit closer to the meeting, but we do endeavour to get that out earlier, as early as possible. Yeah.
Thank you. That would be great going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Last week we made a memorable decision to write to the Prime Minister. I was wondering if there's an update to be provided on any progress towards that happening.
Probably not at this stage, Councillor, but I'm happy to ask the CE if he has anything further to add to that, but we will be kept in the loop, I'm sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have an update on that. The direction wasn't to the Chief Executive to write to the Prime Minister, I might add, so just leave it there. Thank you.
We'll be following up on it, and the councillors will be kept aware of what is going on.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If there's no further minor matters, we will move on to item 5, please. That is the confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the Infrastructure and Environment Committee meeting held on the 5th of March 2025 be confirmed as a true and correct record? Thank you, Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Kiriolpa. Are there any matters for correction, councillors? There appear to be none. I'll put the motion to pass the minutes. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. And I just note that Councillor Lee has raised his action point from the last meeting, and also Councillor Patterson has asked for some information about the National Water Taste Test, and that has been provided as well. That is the action points for the last meeting. So we'll move on to item number 6. And today we have a presentation, 6.1, the Works Team Integration Upgrade. I'd just like to invite Stavros Michael and Alex Wilson to speak to this presentation today. Thank you, team. There's been a big piece of work go on with the integration of Infracore back in-house, as you'll be well aware, and so this is just giving councillors and the community an update about how that process has gone and where we're at. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, Morena. Thank you, Madam Chair. The reason of Alex and I being here today is because the reintegration of the ex-Infracore CCO into our normal operational procedure, since in council is shared between ourselves. Alex is looking after the component that of that workforce that is dealing with open spaces, and I'm dealing with the utilities side. We'll go through a presentation, and between us we will exchange some additional notes, and of course we'll be more than ready to respond to any questions that arise from that. To start with, just to refresh our minds, the purpose of this presentation is to provide a quick update as to the background for the decision made last year. The work has been completed today, the current financial update as best as we know it at this point in time, the remaining risks as we focus them, and obviously a number of next steps that we intend to undertake to ensure that we fulfill your expectations. These are the dates that Council made the resolutions, and obviously throughout the states, the final one was in February this year, and staff transfers from the standalone company and facilities were transferred fully into an integrated in-house process. The stated, or at least the implied objectives of the decisions made by Council last year involve the enhanced control of financial performance and the cost of services provided by those people. As you'd recall, we did have a request from the Board of Directors of additional funding for the CCO, and the impression and strong expectations of officers and elected members is that those costs could be mitigated by actually adopting an alternative view in delivering and managing those kind of services. And obviously, important to that objective was a much closer management of operational delivery and setting the priorities for the works we do. By having a direct control and direct line of management of those important resources, it allows Council and us as senior officers to exercise judgment and define the priority of undertakings. And through that process, obviously, we ensure key levels of service, safety requirements, and critical components of work versus non-critical components of works are finally calibrated against allowable budgets and cost expectations. And obviously, the last point was that aligning the operational skills of all those people from the previous SCCO with the in-house skills of our asset management, strategic planning, customer services, and asset information will be better, will be achieve a better alignment by having those teams, within the council. So the key question is that what has been done to date, and what we have up there is that the reporting lines have now been established. About 90 FTEs have been transferred to the Community Experience Group under Alex Wilson's team. 33 FTEs have been transferred into the infrastructure and assets, and these are basically in the utilities, the 3 waters area. 5 staff have been transferred into the Organizational Performance Group, and at the moment we've got 18 vacancies within all those numbers, which is still a significant component of vacancies. We have not been able to fill those positions. A project steering group has been set up to monitor and oversee the plan and the integration. And of course, you would appreciate, elected members would appreciate that shifting people and employees, over 100 employees, into a new organizational structure. We'll have to realign logistics support, financial support, direct control support, task setting support, and obviously working through it to make sure that the integration is going smoothly and seamless. And the most important part is that the level of service and the critical levels of service that ensure reliable service to our community do not get interrupted. We have undertaken, and we are in the process of fully finalizing a review of the mobile fleet and plant and equipment, obviously moving around large numbers of people to undertake tasks. They need utes, they need trucks, they need vehicles, they need specialized equipment, and we need to make sure that equipment is fit for purpose, are safe to operate, and obviously are the right types of equipment for the tasks and operations we want to undertake. The operational system, our integration is now under the way, health and safety, processes, and the ex-infrastructure register has been uploaded to our council in our systems. Please to note at this point in time, and I want to be cautious about it, while around July last year, the Board of Directors requested additional funding for that in the order of $3 million, would have been in excess of what the available funding was for us in our union plan. We have now, with integration, gradually reassessed that, and we're operating with a new forecasted cost or loss against the annual plan budgets of between $800,000 and $1 million. There is a current loss recorded in our systems because we're ring-fencing these operations to compare it against the potential loss would have occurred if we were funding Infraco at 420 Ks to the end of February, but we do forecast that the number would be between $800,000 and $1 million. Alex, you want to note anything from there?
Probably just a little bit of the context around those finances. It's largely, you would have seen the 18 vacancies that we're carrying. That contributes to bringing down that overall loss by the end of the year. We've had some program changes as well. So the way I liken it to is we used to have part of the picture in one area and part of the picture in the other area. Now we've got the whole picture, so we can actually make some really good resourcing decisions around where we put our time and effort, and that's helped us make some savings. And we've also had some legislative change which has contributed to those, to reducing that loss by the end of the year as well.
Okay, so thank you, Alex. So consistent with that, and my somewhat cautionary note that while a significant body of work has taken place over the last few months, obviously there remain risks, and it's quite important for elected members to be aware of those risks. We do forecast, what this transitional cost risk would be, but, again, a large body of vehicle and equipment has to be utilized every day, and at this point in time, we do not have 100% certainty about the quality, the level of service and the appropriateness and the condition of that fleet, and we're still working on that, and we are in the process of undertaking an external review to be completed by the end of April. And the intention of that, of course, is to say if you want to operate this large workforce in-house, that large workforce has to be supported and augmented and enabled by the appropriate fleet, vehicles and equipment. And we are doing that to verify that what you have is the right type and the right quantity and the right condition of the vehicles. Again, as Alex said, we're still facing some challenges to recruit, technical trades people, within the staff. And we are working internally to interrogate and ask the question, what is the problem here? Is it the pay rate? Is that, is it the ability of people to migrate from other services into the Rotorua Lakes Council services? Is it our ability to provide, an attractive enough employment, space where people feel they want to participate into that? So these are all questions. We don't have the full answers to that at this point in time. And we are looking into making sure that whatever the outcome, the key objective here is that it's safe, reliable services to our community, and obviously to make sure that we provide these services in the most effective and cost-efficient manner that the community wants. And in reviewing the barriers or potential barriers for employing people in those positions, we need to interrogate and ask some critical questions as to the reasons why we cannot at this point in time, and explore alternative options. We don't have this fully finalized yet, but we will report back to Council in due course. Again, it's quite important to make sure that while we're having the resources in-house and we're undertaking a range of assessment as to what are the critical services versus the non-critical services and provide priorities into these interventions, we have a commitment and we have a funding allocation by the Council made to these activities on the basis that certain levels of service will be delivered. And we have a project steering group that oversees the development of a reporting framework to track service delivery. Simply reporting that more money or less money is spent on a particular activity, it's important to know, but the most important thing is that for that amount of money spent, do we get the level of service required to perform the tasks, and the services, we undertake. Our next steps, obviously, is that we need to go through the 3 stages of a full integration between February and April. We just have to stabilize the service delivery, make sure that the reporting framework captures all this level of service, operational efficiency, operational effectiveness, to make sure that we have all the right processes in terms of human resources, payroll, and business systems are in place and are functioning as they should be. The next phase will be the transition of all logistical systems, IT systems, accounting systems, tracking and tasking activities, and fleet management systems into our own internal, in the Council's internal processes. So by the time we hit the end of the financial year, all that seamless integration will be completed. From October this year, we do plan to optimize, to make an assessment of what needs to be done to optimize the processes, set strategic and financial targets and direction, and that would be, that will lead us to a more sustainable and a model that will be proposed to the new elected council after the elections next year. So we do expect that by the time the new elections take place, the new council is in place, we will have assessed all the logistics of transition, all the good parts and the bad parts, where we have some improvements to be made, and we will develop a proposed long-term sustainable model to, for the new council. And of course, elected members would know that a part of this reintegration, especially in the utilities area, will be affected by the decisions councillors will make about the Three Waters delivery plan. So all these sort of things are, let's call it work in progress, until we consolidate our due diligence of the services and identifying the risks and the risk mitigation options we have ahead of us, and report back to the Council. And obviously, with the new Council in place, that will be an appropriate place to finalise and propose a longer sustainable model to that effect. Thank you. Alex, you want to add anything more to that? Sorry. Have we taken questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Stavros, and thank you to you, Alex, as well. It's a substantial piece of work that's been going on over the last few months, and I'd just like to acknowledge you and your teams for the smooth integration so far and the working towards a more sustainable model of delivery. Councillors' questions? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, thank you for your report. Just a couple of notes from your comments. The $1 million loss that we're forecasting, obviously that's not concrete yet. That would be classed as OPEX, wouldn't it?
That's correct.
So the fleet renewal, that would be CapEx?
Yeah, fleet renewal, all would come out of the packs of the renewal program. Yeah.
There would be costs associated with the transition to one council?
I think there will be some operational because Alex can reinforce that.
At the moment, it's staff just managing that integration of the systems.
Okay, that's good to know. So will this at all impact the 25-26 annual plan?
Well, the draft 25-26 plan, obviously is taking into consideration all the information we know at this point in time, and we're making provisions, to the best of our ability to incorporate those numbers, we gave you going forward. The Chief Executive might want to add something.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Patterson, and through you, Madam Chair. As per the resolution made when Infracore was assets and staff were brought in-house, we indicated there was an element of risk around levels of service, but we gave an undertaking that we would work within the financial envelope that was provided for that financial year, and that applies for the next financial year as well. So to answer your question, do we see any consequence of this work requiring additional funding in the 25-26 annual plan? The intention is no. If we do find something that is materially contains a risk that we didn't know about, or we materially want to highlight to you to change that plan, we will do so through the deliberations process. And if anything arises during the year, we will bring that to Council for a decision. It's important to realise this is an update and this isn't a conclusion of a target operating model of how these services will operate. And inherently that means risk exists around levels of service. Now we've gone down the path that we're going to give cost certainty rather than level of service certainty. So we're going to be firmer on the fiscal envelope rather than adhere strictly to the levels of service in the past. And the Council has endorsed that view, and we're going to proceed in that way.
So just to clarify, the figure we're going out with in the annual plan is unlikely to be changed by this?
Based on what we know at the moment, we will not be making any changes to that for the 25-26 year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair, thank you very much, Stavros. Thank you very much, Alex, for your reports and for all your work so far. Could I just ask, in regards to the 18 vacancies, are they open at this present time?
Yes, they are.
Forgive me, because I once a week look on the vacancies that we advertise, and the only three I could see last night were the senior consents planner, an intermediate consents planner, and a senior policy planner. Am I looking at the wrong place? Are those jobs put somewhere else?
I can probably speak to the arborist roles. So they were up and they've closed, and we're just assessing those at the moment, so that wouldn't appear as an active recruitment if you were looking just recently.
So sorry, so all 18 are in that?
Those are 4 roles, I believe. So I can't speak for the others.
I will have to sort of recheck with our HR department to see, where they are.
Okay.
So I think that's
Thank you. 18 vacancies. If we conservatively said a salary of $55,000, that's upwards of $1 million. So if those vacancies were filled, the loss would be closer to $2 million. Would that be fair?
Well, if you extrapolate direct labor cost to productivity, yes, but the point we're making at this point in time is that numbers of bodies on the ground and productivity not always the same. So while these vacancies are in place, the question is how much additional work they can undertake that at the moment can be undertaken by the external sector too.
Oh, fine, and I fully take on what you're saying. It's just helpful as us as when we see information saying the loss is X, actually if those vacancies have been filled at this present time, and you're obviously looking to fulfill them, if you're advertising them, the loss would obviously be a higher figure.
Only on the simplistic assumption that additional labour costs would not translate to additional productivity gains.
So
remember that Infracore or that works department is undertaking a number of works that is not the whole body of works. If those skills and capacities were in-house available to us, the question is that how much of that work can be done in-house instead of externally. So it's not correct to simply add a cost to a fixed level of...
Oh no, I'm not saying it's the whole picture, and I'm saying, perhaps what's been put up there isn't the whole picture either. So, yeah. But anyway, thank you for your answers. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kaifong, and I'll just ask, I'll welcome Councillor Wang and Councillor Brown online. I see that Councillor Brown's got his hand up too.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Just a question around the PSG. So will that have external people, or is this an internal council PSG group?
It's an internal PSG council staff.
And so just the role of the PSG, is that only to oversee the development of the reporting framework, or is that to try and drive the other efficiencies and integration?
It's to manage the integration program, as lightly detailed in the next steps slide.
Okay, and mention an external review. When will that likely be done, and by who?
The fleet management.
In your report. Sorry. Sorry, it's due to be completed by April, so is that underway with who?
That is the fleet one.
Yes. We're using Morrison Law to undertake a review of that.
Morrison, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Sorry, Chair, nothing from me.
Question.
Sorry, Chair, nothing from me.
Oh, cool. I just saw your hand up, sorry. Any questions? This Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, thank you for your report, Alex and Stavros. Alex, you said something that fascinated me. You said that there were some legislative changes that actually reduced costs. I'm curious.
I might actually refer that to David Jensen. So I think he was involved in the specific legislative change that impacted the costs.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, there was some legislative change reducing costs associated with traffic management, which has reduced some of the costs involved in delivering the services done by Infracore.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, councillors. There appear to be no further questions. So I'd just like to thank Alex and Stavros for your presentation today and the information about where we are with our works department. There's obviously still a bit more work to do yet, but we're tracking well. Is there any further comments from you?
No, just to acknowledge it's a significant change to the organisation. We're working through quite a lot of different work streams. To Councillor O'Brien's question earlier, sometimes hiring actually reduces OPEX, because what we're not seeing is the external contract costs. And so we're looking at all of those things and trying to give you the full picture, acknowledging that what you've got here is an update and not the full picture. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. On that note, we'll move on to the next item, which is item number 7, the staff reports. 7.1, adopt local water done well consultation document for public consultation. Could I have a mover and a seconder to accept the report be received, please? That's Councillor O'Brien, seconded by Councillor Kiriopa. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. I'll invite Stavros to overview his report. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. We have discussed the context and the legal framework upon which the local water done well is based. What you have in front of you is a consultation document. The decisions will be made after, elected members will be made after the consultation and was concluded, and the feedback from that consultation informed the councillors on the general direction. We believe there is plenty of time for elected members to seek more clarifications and or express views, on the subject matter. The consultation obviously highlights the key issues, the legal requirements, the services, the importance of those services, the assets risks, and the financial risks, are currently included by the council, and seeks feedback from the community as to what is the best possible model to deliver risk mitigation against those issues which involve legal and service provision. In summary, we believe that the consultation document paints a picture of the causal factors for those risks, such as funding consistency, assets, age, growth, pressures, compliance, and community health, as well as environmental health. The community obviously is informed that in order to effectively manage those risks, a systematic and reliable investment will be required for the long term in all facets of the local water, of the three waters, the operations, maintenance, renewals, upgrades, skills acquisition, and so on. So we believe that the consultation document paints, those pictures, for the community to understand it and have a view about it. We do also note the prevailing political environment where government policy direction is provided, the need to collaborate and collaborate with other people and many important stakeholders, including our local communities, iwi, Manawhenua, trusts, government agencies, and so on. So the financial constraints is also quite evident that in the medium and long term, and the need to enable the council to invest in other areas of its activities. And the roadmap is proposed that provides optionality for the council to maintain gates and doors open to make decisions. Finally, elected members are of course the lead agency in the decision making, whether to adopt the prepared roadmap or select different options. And the whole idea behind this legislated requirement to consult on the models is to solicit and listen to community views, and obviously that community feedback will come back to elected members in due course to make a final decision whether the roadmap proposed is appropriate way to move forward. But we do feel that the document stands at the moment succinctly and effectively describes the framework under which we have to make the decisions, and hopefully will explain to the community the gravity of the decision making behind this, this consultation. I will take any questions you may have from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Stavros. This is a big piece of work that's been going over a long period of time, and will continue after this piece of consultation, which is really to engage our community in this discussion around how we manage our waters going forward. It's not actually about our delivery plan itself, but it's about the proposed model that we will be putting out for asking our feedback on from our community. Has anyone got any questions for Stavros on the consultation document or the consultation process? There appear to be no questions on the document. Everyone appears to be happy with the way that it sits, and I will leave it at that. Thank you, Stavros. Councillor O'Brien. Thank you. Thank you, Stavros, for the report and also for preparing the document, and to Greg and the team as well. You're welcome to move away. There's no more questions. Councillor O'Brien, signalling to move that the Council approve to conduct public consultation on local water done well from the 4th of April 2025 to the 5th of May 2025. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kaifong, thank you. I'll invite a round of discussion if anyone would like to make any comments. Would the mover like to start?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think the document's excellent, sets it out pretty well as far as I could see. I have no complaints. The only concern I would perhaps just raise is just to make sure that we are fully engaging with those, with the Manawhenua that are assisting us with our consent applications at this time. But apart from that, more than happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments, Councillors? Councillor Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I could have asked a question. I'm sure we covered this last time. I'm not really quite sure how we ended up on option 1 as our preferred. My preference would be option 2, but nevertheless, this is a consultation document, so I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Kaifong?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, happy this goes out for consultation. We have had a substantial number of workshops with councillors, including representatives from DIA, Te Mata Arawai and the Commerce Commission. We've also had other representatives talking to us about this. We've looked at the financial modelling and have decided that the preferred option to go out for consultation is the one that is in the document, but also looking into the future as to what the potential option could be. So we're kind of leaving the door open to see what else could come about once the legislation is in place. Other councils have done their modelling, we've done our own, and just seeing how the thing embeds. So happy to support this. It's a consultation document. The public will have the opportunity to have a read of the document, see the direction that council proposes and see if they're happy with that or not.
Thank you, Councillor Kaifong. Any further comments, councillors? There appear to be none, so on that note I will put this motion that the council approve to conduct consultation on the local water done well from the 4th of April to the 5th of May. All those in favour please say aye. Aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you, councillors. Welcome, Your Worship. And we'll move on to item 7.2, the progress report, infrastructure and assets. This is on page 18 of your agenda, councillors. Can I please have a mover and a seconder that the progress report, infrastructure and assets be received? Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Seconded by Councillor Kiriopa. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. And welcome back, Stavros.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I will take the report as read and respond to any questions elected members may have. I just want to make some pertinent comments or notes, to the summary of the report. Important to note that we are now currently working with the New Zealand Transport Agency. One of our major main roading maintenance contracts is coming towards the end of this 5-year term extension. The contract anticipates a 5 + 3 + 2 years. We've gone through a number of processes with NZTA to make sure that they're comfortable with those terms of the contracts, and in due course we'll come back to the council over the next couple of months to make final recommendations for the term of that contract. Our water mains, we're focusing attention at the moment on water mains renewals and network enhancements and progressing to ensure the service reliability and the gradual reduction of water losses is taking effect. And of course that is a long-term issue that's greatly associated with a systematic renewal of some 800 kilometers of water supply pipelines. But we are very focused on that to make sure that the service reliability is at the highest possible level, the service efficiency is at a high level, and obviously we are tracking down the renewal progress in areas where we believe that most of water loss is evident. Fluoridation, obviously you have gone through these processes. We are this week fully engaged and focused on commissioning the new system, and we are progressing through the various testing requirements and the introduction of fluoridation. There is a lot of technical work that's taking place behind the scenes at the moment, and as we have advised the Ministry of Health that it will take us 1 to 2 weeks to fully commission the system, but we are in full progress in that respect. We're working also with some major contracts in terms of risks and contractual claims. Each one of those contractual risks is managed and addressed under specific contractual terms. And just to provide an update to elected members that in engaging to significant amounts of operations and contracts delivery, there's always going to be the need to manage those contracts very carefully to protect the ratepayer against any undesirable cost escalations. While wastewater treatment plant upgrade is progressing, and together with the Chief Executive and our partners, we now started looking into a comprehensive way of addressing the challenge of discharging the treated effluent in due course. We are talking to partners and stakeholders to explore viable and sustainable options, that will see us in the future and for the duration, obviously, of the concern was anticipated to be at least 35 years. Our water supplies concerns are also gradually coming into line, and we are working and we are progressing in collaboration with key mana whenua entities to enhance collaboration and to minimize consenting risks. Appropriate detailed reports will be brought to the committee over the next couple of months. We do note the relationship we have built with Ngāti Rangi in terms of joint consent application and joint consent management of the Taniwha Springs. The next big one for us is the central water supplies, and we are working with mana whenua to structure a partnering or a collaboration agreement that will be brought to our elected members for ratification over the next couple of months. We are progressing also a collaborative approach with the Bay of Plenty Regional Council to manage our mutual responsibilities in a manner that addresses the requirements of our comprehensive stormwater consents. As I reported earlier to you, the comprehensive stormwater consent makes it very clear that we need to work with the Bay of Plenty Regional Council to discharge our mutual responsibilities so we can have the best collective impact approach behind that scene as best as we can, and we are working towards that direction. Our property and facility strategy is now under formulation for the committee by the end of May. We intend to bring to you our property and facilities portfolio and preliminary strategy to daylight the level of investment this council has made in property over the years, the current distribution of that property, the potential risks as arising from that, and propose a framework through which that strategy will be developed. This would highlight the scope and the liabilities arising from an extensive property portfolio, and we will set in motion a strategy to be approved by the next LTP, the next long-term plan. So in the short term, we need to develop the strategy. We need to understand very clearly the key objectives of our property and facilities portfolio, and of course that will inform your next long-term plan. So that's my keynotes, and more than happy to take any questions elected members may have with regards to the body of the proposed report. Thank you.
Thank you, Stavros, and thank you for the comprehensive report. And I'd also just like to acknowledge that this is the last active and engaged report that will come through this committee. It will be coming through the CDD committee from here on in. So thank you, Rob, for all of your reports through this committee, and Alex as well. Thank you. Councillor Patterson, questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, thanks again for your report, Mr. Michael. Starting off with the comments regarding the Peka block, has Council been given any feedback from the developers on how the tenancies are progressing for that project?
May I ask, JP, no, I don't have it.
You don't have it, okay, thank you. The water supplies, I see the list includes Karamu, Tākina, Waipa and Hemo for the eastern, Rewa, which of course is Hamurana, Kaharoa, Waiiti and Rotorua, with regarding to those consents. So does the existing consent for Taniwha Springs, i.e. Nongata, not be required to be in that process because it's not listed there?
Is a consent to have it secure for the next 35 years in place now? But we're working with Ngāti Rangi for a consent for Rewa Springs on Hamurama Stream. So the relationship we have built with Ngāti Rangi is productive and effective, and obviously our consents as a roll-in for the expiry days need to be renewed under new regulations, under new environmental considerations, and obviously working with mana whenua who are really got, there are significant input and stakeholding and views about it is quite constructive for us to continue to do that. So you will see over the next couple of years we'll be rolling these renewal of consent applications, in front of the council and the approaches we need to take.
And speaking of the Ngāti Rangi agreements, no doubt the people of Hamurana, Kaharoa and Nogataha will be wondering when are they going to be having their water supplies fluoridated?
while at this point in time we do not have a direction of the Director General of Health to do so, and that's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then, the East Rotorua Sewage Scheme, I think that's mentioned later on in the report. The final report will be submitted to the Rotorua Lakes Strategy Group. Great to hear that we got the 10 million. When are we going to see that report?
As I noted, the Ministry of the Environment have commissioned an independent QS firm, a quantity surveying firm, to review all the relevant information with a view of satisfying the Minister that he's got enough information about the cost difference of the project between the 2014 estimate and the final cost of the project. We have provided the independent assessor all the requested information today. I have not seen the final draft from them, and certainly, personally, I will not agree to the final to go to the strategy group until I'm satisfied that I have fact-checked all that, all the final report. My colleagues in the Ministry of Environment advised me that the report should be ready by the end of March, early April. I haven't seen it yet, but I will want to take a very close look at it before it goes to the strategy group, and I will advise elected members.
Thank you. So my question was, are we going to get to see that as well?
Of course you will.
Thank you. And finally, just a couple more, Madam Chair. When do we expect to hear the outcome of the application to the National Civil Defence Emergency Management Fund for supporting improvements to local marae as emergency response centres? Any idea when we get that outcome?
I think I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. The National Emergency Management Agency is undergoing its own repositioning, I understand those applications will be considered in the period of May, and to align with our financial year, the new financial year. So we hope hopefully to have some answers by sometime in May.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And last question, if I may, Titoki Place. When will the actual groundworks begin? There's certainly been a lot of planning. When will we see some sods being turned?
Yeah, I will ask Rob. Thank you, Councillor. I will ask Rob to give us an update on that.
Thank you.
Would you please, Rob?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. The resource consent, we're just finalising that at the moment. The intention is that we will be doing work before the end of this financial year, so we're hoping to be in there late June, early July.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Brien has questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair, thank you for your report, Stavros. On page 21, of our agenda, apologies if it's different on your one, to Feddo Street West, it says the design is complete but unlikely to fit due to budget constraints. Sorry, from that I take it that it's unlikely to be impacted on 25-26 year?
That's correct.
Thank you. Could I ask also on that same page, the Eastgate intersection improvements? I see that we've got a detailed design and waiting on NZTA. Will the implementation of that be affected by certain requests from the airport, or are we doing that nonetheless?
The design of that signalised intersection has got two options. One is a three-legged interface, main highway and entry into Eastgate, and the other one is a four-legged approach into the airport. As soon as NZTA approved the safety audit of the design and we go to tenders, we will tender for both options, and we will bring it in front of the council to understand the difference between the three-legged option and the four-legged option. And depending on the progress of the airport, obviously, we'll have to make some decisions whether, if you decide to go ahead with the signalised intersection, whether you want to activate a four-legged option now or wait until the airport business plan is progressing further.
Okay. I think I remember a line from Animal Farm that said 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, but okay, we'll leave that.
Sorry for that.
That's all right. On page 27, you talk about the consents for Waipa and Hemo. My good friend Mr. Jim Stanton would never forgive me if I didn't ask, with those consents being underway now, does that help you in your design of any work of the Moria drinking water?
No, sir.
So that will be what one of the other springs would be more.
Yeah, we do. I think if you look into our infrastructure strategy, and again, it's all subject to an evolving requirement from these new local water well regulations. But in terms of the practical implementation of extending water supplies to Moria and then let's say the eastern part of Brunswick Park and so on, it's more likely for water supply to come from the other direction, from Hamurama Springs, in that direction, not Waipa and Himo.
Okay, thank you for that. And just one of my last couple. On page 29, you have under the Tarawera, the flow of agreements to establish locality plans and obtain building consents is slow. We are considering splitting the project into separable portions to reduce cost risks. Council will be updated at the annual plan discussions phase for various options for decisions. Could you just put into English for someone not very bright like me, when you say we are considering splitting the project into separable portions, could you put that into English for someone like me?
I'll do my best to speak English.
Thank you.
As you recall, the stage 2 contract for the on-property installations went to the market, tendered it out, and we got a contract for about $11 million to install about 450 on-property installations. Subsequent to that, of course, we had delays because of Rotokakahi protests. And subsequent to that, also we had the stated objective of the Tarawera community, not all of them, but some of them, to slow down their consents to build a locality plan for each property and get a building consent. And I won't elaborate onto that at this point in time. So in order to mitigate the contractual issues, because a contractor tendered for a collective contract of 450 properties, and in that contract includes this preliminary and general, this management components, if we did not have enough approved locality plans and building consents to keep the contractor going along, that means the contract will take longer than anticipated in the tender. And when you go longer than anticipated in a tender, the contractor is entitled to claim the cost of his site establishment, or overheads, and so on, because the contract lasts longer than that. We have agreed with the contractor to break that into 7 components in order to say every time we have up to 60 properties, you go in and do that work and move away, so you can do other works. So we reduce the cost risk to the council by actually don't have one continuous term of the contract. We do it in parcels as the locality plans have been agreed. So it's a cost containment approach. We say instead of having the contractor sitting idle and paying them downtime, we only do the amount of properties that have been consented. The contractor moves away and comes back when we have the other locality plans in place.
Thank you for that answer. It's very clear, even to me. Well done. Could I just ask, Madam Chair, with supplementary, and the CE may wish to comment, when it says in the report, Council will be updated at the annual plan discussions phase of various options for decisions, given we've already approved the consultation documents, how are we going to approach that during the annual plan, please?
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. I'll try and be as succinct as I can. The option in the consultation document is about bringing forward the striking of the targeted rate. Part of that option also includes the ability for properties who choose not to be part of the scheme to only be charged part of the rate. So that is the decision that you'll be considering as part of the annual plan, and those are signalled in the consultation document. That decision, and depending on how many properties may or may not choose to be part of that phase 2, will affect this contract, as we've mentioned in the report. So I might just also point out we do have a confidential update coming where we might be able to answer commercially sensitive questions more freely. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I'll leave it there, as you say, Madam Chair. And finally, just my last question, if I may, Madam Chair. Last year during the annual plan, the LTP, we put aside a budget from memory for the Māori roads budget. And could I just ask, how would Marae or local entities that would be able to apply for that, how are we letting them know that the fund is operational, and how do they go about applying?
Well, the first question is how do we discuss with Mana Whenua and Marae committees. We've got our Tia Morangi team and our Civil Defence and Emergency team, the community welfare, who have networks within all those committees, and are aware of what we're doing. The Maori Roads really is more a responsive approach rather than a proactive approach. If a Maori, a Mana Whenua, a land trust, we've got a piece of Maori Whenua land that they want to subdivide and they want to improve it, and they require improvements to the access to that land, they come to us as a part of their resource consent application for land concerns, and they say, well, we need the road to be improved, and therefore the council contributes amount of money to the road improvement. And that is more or one availability of a resource to respond to a resource consent application for a particular land. We don't proactively go and build roads until that Maori Whenua land is proposed to be subdivided, is proposed to be the Papakainga or something else with that. So.
Thank you. And what you said makes absolute sense. I'm just concerned that if people don't know about it, there's a chance that perhaps that utility could be brought forward by mana whenua who aren't aware of the actual support there. But thank you very much for your answers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Keopa and then Councillor Lee. Thank you.
So I've just got a supplementary question on what's just been discussed about the Māori roads. Can you confirm, as part of the being able to access that Māori roads funding, does that require mana whenua to hand over ownership of whatever road has been funded to council, please?
Not necessarily. We've got some examples where the council, the Whenua Māori owners do not vest these assets back into the council. However, the council undertakes as part of that agreement to maintain the surface of the road without actually the land being vested to the council.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. First question, Stavros, page 25, it says a regulatory process, this is pertaining to the Rotorua Ma sewage scheme. A regulatory process has started with approximately 13 properties that have not consented to the on-property installations. What's the regulatory process there?
I believe I have sent to elected members the regulatory process sometime a few weeks ago, and I described Section 459 and Section 81 of the Local Government Act. But in simple terms, if a regulated system is in place and individual property owners, have refused to allow connection, of their systems, into the articulation system, the council under the Local Government Act has got powers to notify the property owner that are required to connect, and if they fail to connect, eventually council has the right to go and install the system and recover the costs, from the property owner. In order to do that, though, we need to give them notice. We need to write to them under various legislative clauses and give them the opportunity to come and address the council, and a hearing opportunity, basically, to address that opportunity. So that's a process that's in place at the moment for about 12 properties out of 650 in Rotorua.
Great, thank you for that clarification. I'm delighted to see that there's toilet renewals in Honeymoor Street. I have received a number of photographs saying the current facilities there are worse for wear. Is there any more you can tell us about that, or?
And not at this point in time, no, thanks. But Rob can talk about it?
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Through you again, Madam Chair. The Honeymoor Street toilets, so we're currently working with architects and building company on actually how we can do a major renewal in that space. It's a small rental space within a commercial building. So we're basically just finalising designs and hoping to be getting that one going mid-calendar year.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Rob, and I think Andrew might have something to add as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Councillor Lee. I'm really pleased that you're augmenting our customer service team by taking service requests from members of the public. I might encourage you to get them to lodge those service requests directly with our team, because we can then track those service requests and ensure we're providing good customer service, but also build up a picture of analytics and patterns around that work. And secondly, it's not necessary to wait for a council or committee meeting. You may approach me any time with operational questions like this. I'll do my best to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finally, page 24, the Victoria Street to Marist Park detailed design is complete. So that's going to be avoiding the sanatorium reserve, is it?
Yes, it's got to follow the Tinai Road parallel to the Tinai State Highway.
Because we objected to it going through the sanitarium reserve. Is that going to result in an additional cost to ratepayers, taking the longer route?
No, I think the technical implementation, the costs are very similar, and actually we have arrived at the conclusion that following the process to install a utility such as sewage pipe within a road corridor, it actually saves cost by, instead of having to undertake cultural mitigations in our reserve, it's easier to put a utility on a road corridor than actually going through a reserve. And obviously I can't quantify the exact cost, but obviously the pipeline requirements and the laying of the pipe and so on, the costs are very similar. But we'll avoid protracted negotiations and perhaps unwarranted, legal costs.
Is the road going to have to be closed as this is installed?
No, we don't close the road. Usually when we undertake, pipe renewals and pipe installations, we do follow, depending on the circumstances, segmental open trenching, which maintains traffic flows, or you can do directional on drilling, which, again, it doesn't necessarily the closure of the road.
And that's going to work out cheaper?
We hope so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stavros. Thanks for the detail. Is there any further questions? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you for your indulgence, Madam Chair. There was one that I had written down that I missed. Just on the note of Rotorua, was rather concerned when I saw that there had been two what looked like predetermined attacks on the generator out there. Is that, what's the motivation behind that? Do we know? Are they trying to steal something, or is that sabotage?
It's a bit hard to determine, Councillor, I think.
I don't know, Councillor. I don't know what are the reasons people vandalize, private and public, property. We report it to the police. We leave it in the police hands, to do what they need to do. But whatever I will tell you is going to be speculation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions, councillors? I just have one quick one about the emergency management, Stavros, the local welfare committee. I see that Raj has been busy in his new role, and there's currently 16 organisations represented on the forum. Can you give us any detail around what kind of organisations are in that committee or sit around that committee, and is there potential for more?
Madam Chair, I can't sort of list them off on top of my head at this point in time, but we've got people like the Salvation Army, we've got charity groups, we've got Red Cross, we've got local community groups, who participate, Marai committees who actually participate, into the process. But I cannot accurately list in my head. I can follow up with you though if you want.
Thank you. I can take this offline. That's fine. Thank you very much. Sorry, I can't take questions from the floor. No. Sorry, I can't actually. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry. Actually, as part of our committee meetings, we don't actually allow the public to engage. I'm sorry. It's not part of our process anyway. Yeah. Thank you. I take on board. Ma'am, I'd just like to. Councillors, I would like to actually just. Thank you, ma'am. I think we might just take a break for 5 minutes, and I understand. Yeah. We'll take a break for 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm a member of Te Aroha, a Tūrangi Ngāti Whāpia.
Thank you, councillors. We've just had a short break and now we will resume our meeting. We were just finishing off our progress report. The councillors have finished asking their questions. Thank you, Stavros, for your report and answering those questions. I would just now like to move on to item 8 and advise that we will be passing a resolution to go into public excluded. Now, previously on your agendas, you would have seen that it was going to be for the reasons of legal proceedings, especially 8.2, which is the verbal update for the Tarawera Surge Scheme. Obviously, there's been some an update happened in late yesterday afternoon, which was released to the public, and so we will still move into public excluded on the grounds that the withholding of information is necessary to enable the authority to move forward without prejudice or disadvantage to commercial activities. In other words, to enable the delivery of commercial activities without disadvantage or prejudice under section 7.2h. And also item 8.1 is the confidential minutes of the last Infrastructure and Environment Committee meeting held on the 4th of March. Can I have a mover and a seconder that we, the Infrastructure and Environment Committee resolves to exclude the public on the grounds contained in section 48(1) of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, please? Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Waru. And seconded by Councillor Kai Fong. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. And we will actually now take a quick break for councillors to have a refreshment, and then we will be resume. Thank you. 10 minutes? 15 minutes? Start at 11. Thank you.